And so we were at a wedding. And as the bride and groom were exiting the premises, you know that the bride and groom usually get in a car of sorts, and they drive away off to consummate their marriage. And one of the best ways we've done a pre-consummation ceremony, right? And that's called a wedding. And then you have the reception after that wedding, and then you have the exit after the reception. And so at this point in the evening, we are at the exit. And I had the pleasure, and trust me, it was a great pleasure and privilege to be a groomsman at this wedding. And one of the things that we closed the night off with, of course, we closed our part of the night out. Of course, there is the consummation of the marriage, in which I believe the Jewish tradition is that someone is there in the room. Well, to be frank with you, we are not Jewish, and so there were only two people in the room, but that's beside the point. We celebrate the beauty of that. But upon exit of the reception into the entry of the honeymoon, someone had the bright idea of singing the doxology. Praise God from whom all blessings flow. And if you know anything about the doxology, it doesn't just stop there. It continues on for a good 2 more minutes. And little did we know those who started it, we would go on for the full 2 minutes. We sang the whole thing as the bride and groom were entering their vehicle to exit the reception. And you know what was inside the bride and groom's car was nothing good, I'll tell you that much. Lots of slippery things. And you know who the bride and groom were at this beautiful wedding? The bride and groom, I can't speak for the bride, but the groom was the man, the myth, and the legend. The guy who makes this podcast run, whose name is not Rodrigo, but his name is Christopher Brett Walters. Christopher Brett Walters stood outside of his car for 1.5 minutes and sang the doxology. He was not ready for the night to end, to be quite frank. And we find ourselves here in this very moment celebrating the doxology. Praise God, from whom all blessings flow.
It was a beautiful time. I'll say that. It was a beautiful moment, and it was totally, I won't say impromptu, right? We had kind of been throughout the bachelor party and the other ceremonies leading up to the wedding. That had kind of been the anthem for that weekend. I remember going to in Ocala, there was the girls' house and there was the guys' house where all the groomsmen and the bridesmaids stayed. And to be honest with you, the bridesmaids got, the house that we were in was nice. Don't get me wrong. It was really nice. Right on the golf course. But the one they had a big old pool, just big sliding glass doors. It was a mansion. And we just walk in there, and without saying a word, we just started singing the doxology. So it was gorgeous. And I had people coming up to me afterwards, and they were like, man, it was so cool. We love how y'all had, planned for everyone to sing the doxology as you drove away. I thought that was, I teared up a bit whenever I saw that, and people were joining in and everything, and I was like, that was not on any agenda. That was purely led by the Holy Spirit, which perhaps makes it even more beautiful, right? So yeah, it was fun, man. Look, we were leaving the reception, and you hear that song, and you gotta stand. It's like the dang national anthem. You gotta stand at salute, you know, and let it take place, and wait until it's over before you make your exit. So that was a pretty special time.
Yeah, and that's one of the beautiful things is those unplanned moments are often some of the most memorable. And it is just quite beautiful that we weren't necessarily singing it intentionally. It's just what flowed from our lips. And when one starts, you start to see the parents and the grandparents and the cousins and the friends and family. They just start to sing it because it's such a beautiful song. And then you get all 250 people just absolutely singing this beautiful, beautiful song that is blessing you as you exit your marriage, as you exit your reception. You have not exited your marriage. Let's get that correct. You had just entered into marriage with one another, the covenant. And I honestly think this should be at the end of every reception. As they exit, we should sing the doxology. It's an uncommon thing to happen.
It's uncommon, but it's beautiful, right? A lot of times there's sparklers. There's people still like throw sunflower seeds, like the ranch flavored ones are really good. Or like bird feed or something like that. I think we do bubbles? I honestly cannot remember. I think we did bubbles, right?
I don't remember either. I was on doxology team. That's all I know.
Yeah, true. Good point. Either way, not a lot of people throw the doxology at you as you run. I think we may have done sparklers. I have a horrible memory, but I do remember the doxology. So I guess I remembered really what mattered.
Absolutely. And you know what else matters?
What's that?
It's the past 7 days. You know, it's been quite some time since we gathered. How has those days been?
Well, really, it's probably going to be the last 9 days, unless you don't want to do Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, let's be clear. We shouldn't do Monday and Tuesday, otherwise we will be here for 2.5 hours.
That's fair. Okay.
So, Monday and Tuesday of this week is what I'm saying.
Right.
For our listeners who don't know, we love you so much. We are recording on a Tuesday. We're going to be late to work tomorrow, but it's going to be okay because we're just going to tell them we had a podcast to record.
And they'll totally understand.
They will.
They will understand. So, but my week, it was good. It was, I'm trying to think. On Monday, I had to go to one of my previous jobs because that hurricane came through, and we had a couple warranty items after that, after the hurricane. So we were going through and testing. We had a couple leaks in some spots and some other little items. So went over there for pretty much half the day on Monday, just walking around with subcontractors trying to get stuff fixed. So that was Monday. Tuesday, I can't remember Tuesday because it was just a typical day at work. Wednesday, I had to go to St. Pete for my upcoming job. We went around, and since it's a portion of it is a renovation, so we have to go through and take existing conditions pictures and document, kind of what shape everything was in prior to us going in there and tearing out walls and stuff like that, in case something goes awry, I guess. So that was a hot experience because you got to do the outside as well. And it was like 10 o'clock in the morning, which really starts getting hot at 9. And, we're up on the roof just taking pictures like as fast as we can, because it's going to be like 100 degrees here, any second. So try to get up there and get down as fast as possible. So that was Wednesday. Thursday again was kind of a typical work day, as well as Friday at work. Friday afternoon, though, we had a pretty special event that kicked off. Me and some buddies went camping at Fort DeSoto, which is just west of St. Pete. And you might be wondering, Brett, St. Pete is on the Gulf of Mexico. How are you going to go west of St. Pete? But Fort DeSoto is it's an island. It's a string of islands that is, I mean, frankly, it's beautiful, but there's a lot of kind of swampy terrain, palm trees, but very humid, lots and lots and lots of mosquitoes. They had some raccoons and they had some rats. This is a county campground, right? So you try to consolidate your trash as much as possible, but these raccoons and rats, they're used to getting into, people's food and stuff like that. So we had to really be on the lookout. And, my buddy Jacob, he brought his pellet gun. I said, look, we got rats. Bring the dang pellet gun and we'll end their existence. So we went through, we go, Friday, we load everything up, get out there. We're camping and, it's probably 6:30, 7 o'clock. So the sun's still up. And we see a couple rats running up under the truck. So one of the guys on the trip, he grabs the pellet gun, pumps it 8 to 10 times, whatever. And he gets on his stomach, lies prone to look up under the truck, see if we can shoot one of these things. But they're too smart, man. They did not stop running. Not once did they stop until they were behind cover. So unfortunately, couldn't get a shot on the rats. But what we did do later that night, I made some smash burgers on the Blackstone, which were pretty tasty, if I do say so myself. But we had 3 or 4 buns left over, and we're all sitting around the campfire, and about 10 feet to our left is the picnic table, right, with the buns and a couple other items on it. And my buddy looks up and he goes, "Hey, it's a raccoon." And he's sitting there. He had so quietly crept up onto the table and he's holding the bag of buns. And he looks and he's like, like he's been found out. And so he takes off, runs around in the woods a little bit and goes up this tree. And guess what? The pellet gun is already locked and loaded from the little rat incident previously. So, and we knew that this pellet gun wouldn't kill the raccoon. Maybe a shot right behind the ear might do it, but I don't even think then it would put him down. So we just put a pellet between his eyes and he ran away. But we knew we'd be seeing more of him because they're so bold and so sneaky. I don't know if you've ever had an experience with a raccoon before.
We were on a mission trip in Colorado, and one of our students actually grabbed a raccoon himself. He took a video. I was speaking with a lady in our church, and this is actually quite funny. During the hurricane, her power went out, of course. She was one of the ones that I mentioned in last week whose power was out for multiple days. But what happens when power goes out? You don't have a refrigerator. What happens without a refrigerator? Your ice cream melts and your ice cream cake melts.
Oh.
And and so that's one, a tragedy, but two, she shared with me that she just fed them to her raccoons. and And to which I responded, "Did you just say raccoons as pets?" And she said, "Yeah, I got all kinds of animals in my backyard. We got deer, raccoons, bears. I just feed them as much as possible. They keep coming back."
I can't imagine why.
I'm like, that's brilliant. I love it so much, and I love that for you. It just wouldn't be what I do. And that's the beauty of having conversation is you get to hear perspectives from all sorts of people. And so that's my experience with raccoons.
Well, this is probably a similar situation. I mean, I imagine somebody, some family from Michigan is down vacationing at Fort DeSoto, and they're like, "Oh, it's a cute little raccoon. Let's throw him a loaf of bread." They're emboldening these raccoons to where they go and they start committing crimes. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing to take bread from somebody who wants you to have it and is willingly giving it to you. It's a whole other thing to roll up in our camp and just steal it right off the table. So that's thievery, that's perjury, that's everything else. But I digress on the raccoons. Later on that night, when you're on a camping trip like that, it's hot, so you're sweating. It's humid, so just the entire time, you're just covered in moisture. We'll say that. From head to toe, you're covered in moisture. Doesn't matter. And so you're sitting around the campfire like, man, I'm not really tired, or at least I don't want to go to sleep because I'm just gross, right? So we look out, and our campsite is right on the water. It's like this little intercoastal portion of the campground, and it butts right up to the water. So we're like, look, we got some flashlights. Let's walk around in this shallow water and see what we can find. We've got a cast net for like a little bait fish cast net. Let's walk around and see if we can't find anything. And I'll tell you what, I don't know if anybody ever goes looking for crabs out there, but we caught 8 blue crabs the first night. So we threw those bad boys on ice, and we said, look, tomorrow, the next day we had already planned on doing steaks. So I said, look, we can do a little surf and turf action here and get fancy with the boys. So we go, it's always fun catching crabs because inevitably somebody's finger is going to get absolutely blasted. One of the guys got just hammered by this blue crab. He clipped him, hooked in on his thumb on one side, and the whole time he's trying to shake him off and pry it off his finger, and eventually the claw just comes off like he's trying to rip it off. And in the act of ripping that claw off, the other side swung around and locked onto the same thumb. It did not end well for the crab, I'll say that. But it was funny because at the end, the guy had two claws sunk into his thumb, and they were tightened down. So took a little bit of effort to get the claws out of his thumb, but it was pretty funny. I mean, it wasn't me, so that's good, right? But it was entertaining for sure to watch him kind of, we're in like calf deep water, and it's 2 a.m. Like, hey, people are trying to sleep, and he's just hollering so loud because this crab just bombed his finger. So that was pretty funny. The next morning, well, I was going to say we woke up, but I was sleeping in an Eno because when you're in an Eno, you got the wind that goes underneath you, the wind that goes above you, and it just cools you off, right? That's maximum temperature advantage as far as staying cool. The
old MTA.
That's right. And my buddies, a few of them were sleeping in tents, and they were like, they had vents at the top of the tent, but when they were laying down, they weren't getting any airflow. I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to sleep up in this tree with the raccoon in my Eno. And so me and my buddy Todd, we did a little bunk bed situation with the Enos. I, of course, was top bunk. My Eno was about 10 feet up in the air. And so I'm laying there, dude, and we've tried to go to bed at like 2, and I just cannot fall asleep. Like, there's raccoons walking around in the trees above me. And when I say the trees above me, you might think like, oh, it's a big oak tree, so they're probably 20 feet above you. It's like 5 feet above my head. So didn't really sleep at all because the mosquitoes were just hammering me. And the raccoons were up to something, dude. They were scheming. I wasn't sure quite what they were planning on doing, but I had my big flashlight that could double as a club, and I was ready to fight for my life if I needed to. So all that to say, I did not sleep the first night at all.
Yeah.
We get up. Once again, Blackstone gets fired up. Sausage, bacon, eggs. It's just a power breakfast. You know what I'm saying? Just meat, just protein, eggs, meat, you know? We eat this up. We're like, oh man, it's such a beautiful day. It's hot, obviously, still mosquitoes and everything like that. But we get out the can jam. We've got the football. We're throwing it, you know, just guys being dudes. We're playing can jam. Hit me, I'm going deep, you know. And the whole time, you know, one of the guys on the trip named Max, he brought a couple rod and reels. He said, hey, you know, we caught some bait fish. Let's throw them out there and just, you know, for the heck of it, see what happens. And so I'm playing can jam, and he had kind of attached these rods to this 5-gallon bucket because we were just going to let him sit out there and see what happened. He wasn't going to tend to him all day. So we're playing can jam, and I just hear zzz, clunk, and the bucket falls over. I'm like, oh, dang, something's about to carry this bucket and this rod and reel into the water. And I ran over there just in time before this fish just, you know, went out to the Gulf with it. So I pick it up and I start reeling that bad boy. At first I was like, here, Max, take it. You're the one that, you know, this is your rig here. You're the one that put all the work into it. He was like, no, man, reel that thing in. So I'm reeling. And honestly, it didn't fight very hard. I did not think it was anything significant because it didn't fight very hard, but it ended up being like a 20-inch redfish, which, if anybody's familiar with the redfish slot, that's right there in it. I think it's between 18 and 25, 23, somewhere in there.
Oh.
So it was, dude, perfect size right there in the slot. We looked it up. And, you know, I've got my Gold Sportsman license, so I can essentially fish, shoot, kill anything in the state of Florida that I want to. I've got a license for it.
Any animal.
Look, if I need to stand my ground against a raccoon, I'm allowed to do that with this license. So
you just can't fish, shoot, kill a grandma.
No, unless the grandma is broken into my house and charging after my family with a weapon. Then,
of course,
I can fish, shoot, kill the grandma. And she's facing you. Hey, grandma, turn around. Hey, come back here. Turn around so I can shoot you in the face. Classic.
That's not funny.
Classic
That's not
line.
funny.
Not funny. Anyways, yeah, we fillet this bad boy out, throw them on ice, and we're looking at the spoils. And I'm like, dadgum, boys, you know, we got some steaks for tonight. Couple redfish fillets, I mean, decent size. 8 blue crabs. I mean, this is going to be a proper feast. So we're pretty stoked. We said, look, this is Fort DeSoto, okay? They don't call it fort for nothing. They got a fort around here somewhere, and we're going to go walk around it. So we finally make our way over to the fort, and it's actually right next to the beach, which is very convenient. So we put on our swim trunks. We drive, you know, right in the bed of the truck over to the fort. It's like this. I think the fort was built during the Spanish-American War. I think between Spanish-American War and World War One, the people in Tampa were like, "Hey, we need something to protect us from foreign enemies," so they just built this fort at St. Pete. I don't really think it got much action, to be honest with you, but they had some big cannons and, fortifications, things like that. And so after we checked that out, it was not that much, not many plaques to read. I'm a big history guy. I love to read the plaques, not many plaques, maybe 4 or 5. So that did not take long at all. And we're like, look, we've been hot and sweaty the past 24 hours. Let's go jump in the beach because, in the water at the beach. So we get some sunscreen on. I get on my big hat, my sunglasses, and we get into that cold water, man, dude. It feels so good. Just, I can't overstate how nice it was to get in that cool water after just being hot, humid, swampy for 24 hours straight, not sleeping at all. Like, this is paradise. This is so nice.
How good was that water? How nice was that water?
Oh, so nice, dude. You don't even know. It was cold and there was waves. It was so good.
How are the waves? How are the cold waves hitting across your body, your hot, humid, swampy body?
Honestly, the waves were not that crazy, but that's kind of good. And honestly, I'm not going to go too in depth with this because it was just absolutely ridiculous. But
sensual, I might say.
Well, dude, and folks, I'm going to be honest. We didn't even talk about this beforehand. So, Bo, you hit the nail on the head with that one. There was this couple, and you already know where I'm going. I'm sure everybody knows where I'm going. There's this couple, and you see couples at the beach, and they're we're in like 3-4 foot of water, and we're like hugging, a little bit of PDA, whatever. Maybe rub my shoulders a little bit, things like that. And this couple this is a family podcast, okay? But they had made their way out to where the water was basically up to their chins. And they were not hiding their actions very well. And they're like 30 yards away from us. So we're, us guys, we're in a group in a circle there, just like chatting about life, whatever. And like, I look over and I'm just like, whoa. I mean, it's more than just like,
did y'all just get married?
Right. It's more than just like, give my wife, girlfriend, whatever, a hug and give her a kiss. It was like, and I'm not going to dwell on it, but it was very obvious from facial expressions and other things what was going on beneath the waves. A
little, one might say, fornication at the fortress.
Yeah, it was unscrupulous, dude. I was like, there's freaking. Well, my thing is like, I don't give a rat's rear end, frankly. But when you got dang kids swimming, like 10-year-old kids swimming around like a few yards away from you,
point.
Yeah, I'm like, you're putting yourself in a position where Chris Hansen pops up with a dang scuba suit. He's like,
highly illegal. We need to get brother Andrew and Dale Williams out on the boat to go catch these bad boys.
Agreed. Yeah, catch them with some sort of either a cast net or a flounder gig or something. But yeah, dude, it was, like I said, unscrupulous is the only word I can think of to describe it. And it was filthy and also illegal. I mean, in every aspect, it was illegal. So
some might say you believe that they should be disciplined by the law enforcement officers.
Yeah, I mean, they could have, like, if a cop swam out there, they could have played it off really easily, right? But at the same time, it's like, you don't need to be doing that with like kids around or in public, right? I don't care what you do, but just like maybe control yourself a little bit when you're at the beach that's packed on a Saturday at noon. So I digress from the public lovemaking, but it was just kind of crazy. Anyways, we finished that. We say, all right, we're getting a little warm out here in the water. Sun's beating down on us. Let's go back to the camp a little bit. We got cooled down. So we go back to the camp, and the tree where my Eno is sitting is hung up, is just in the perfect shade spot. And I say, look, guys, I'm sorry. I didn't sleep at all last night. I'm climbing up in this bad boy. It was nice and breezy. The mosquitoes were gone because it was like noon. I was like, I'm climbing up in this bad boy, and I'm going to take a nap. And I slept harder than I've slept in a very, very long time. So I take the nap. I get up. Whenever I wake up, the camp next to us, the little campsite next to us, those folks had gone that morning, like 9. Whenever I woke up, these people had come through and set up like one of the giant 10-person tents, the giant fortresses, this palace of a tent. I just woke up, and I can't imagine what they were thinking when they looked over there and they just see these, because everybody else was napping in their Enos as well. So you just look around and the trees are full of just bags of meat essentially just hanging from the trees in these Enos. They're probably like, what in the world? And they were Hispanic. They spoke Spanish the whole time. And I just wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, this Spanish family of 6 just slid right up in on us. And I had no clue that they were even there. So that's probably a testament to how hard I was sleeping there. Anyways, we get up, we go to the store, we get some steaks for our surf and turf. We get back. I fire up my little Weber grill and the Blackstone at the same time. And, a lot of people, they cook steaks, they'll do the sear first in some cast iron, and then they'll stick it in the oven to finish it off, so to speak, get it to the right temperature. But I wanted to kind of use this little method they call the reverse sear. That's where you put it in the oven, or in my case, on the grill at a lower temperature, bring the inside up to heat, right? And then you get that plancha, that griddle, that Blackstone, get that thing ripping hot. Put some grease on there, and just like a hard sear, maybe a minute each side. Take those bad boys off, let them rest for 10 minutes. Meanwhile, we've got the redfish wrapped up in some tinfoil with some butter, Old Bay, lemon slices. That was one of the fillets. The other fillet we had directly on the grates, so it got a little bit of a char, some grill marks, and had a little more of a crunch to it. Both of them were absolutely delicious. And also in our campfire on the embers, we had rolled up the blue crabs, put butter and Old Bay on there, wrapped them up in tinfoil, set them on the embers for 10 to 15 minutes. And whenever we all come together at the picnic table, it is just this feast with spoils from land to sea and everything in between. We essentially ate everything except for raccoon, which honestly, if we had killed that raccoon, I'd have tried it. I would have strung him up as a freaking message to his young,
Don't cross me.
Don't cross me.
I have my license.
The whole time.
I can kill you.
Yeah, that's right. I've got a Florida Gold Sportsman is what they call me. And that means that I can kill about anything I want. But the whole time Todd was like, oh, you steal our food? We should kidnap your kids. So he was saying the whole time, we need to find these young raccoons, kidnap them, hold them hostage so that the older raccoons learn their lesson. And then, kind of in the 11th hour, decide if they should live or not. Unfortunately, we did not capture any of the young either. So
the problem with capturing the young is it then traumatizes the young. So when they grow older, their response is not going to be healthy response. And so you don't actually solve the problem. I think the answer is obviously to murder the mother and father.
Well, I think the trauma that you're speaking of will probably entice them to run away from humans, which I would say is the most natural response, which is the best response that we're looking for, right?
It depends on if they develop Stockholm syndrome. You never know with raccoons.
That is true. They may think I am their father at some point. And then, I'd have to murder
their mother.
Yeah, I'd have to murder mom and dad, kind of gaslight them their whole lives and saying, look, your parents, they, I don't know, jumped off a bridge or something. And I'm the only one that loves you, essentially.
Your parents found someone who gave them ice cream.
Right. They had to move to Gainesville. They're like, why would they do that? Like, this lady, she feeds us dang ice cream cake twice a week, dude. And when a hurricane hits, you better believe I'm on that back doorstep for some blueberries.
That's right.
So, yeah, like I said, we did not, unfortunately, take the life of any raccoons, young, old, male, or female. But we did have a delicious feast with the crabs and the redfish and the steak. And it was just gorgeous, dude. It was so good. Beautiful moment just there with the boys, just hanging out. We're all stinky. We smell like cigar smoke. And every, campfire smoke. We're burning our trash. I didn't even know until the second day that there was a trash can outside of our campsite. We're burning cans. We're burning water bottles, paper plates. I mean, it's growing up. I mean, my Papa Rala, trash was burned. That's how you get rid of trash. You burn it. So anytime I'm camping or have any sort of fire, I'll throw anything in there. I really don't care. So yeah, that was that night. We went out and caught some more crabs. I think we caught 10 or 12 crabs the next night, but we let them all go. We were just doing it for the fun of it. Because our coolers, while, they're out of ice from being outside for 48 hours in the heat. So we really didn't have any way to pack them up and bring them home, but we caught them and we had a fun time doing it. I'm trying to think if there was anything else fun that happened. The next morning we got up. It was Sunday morning, so we got up and packed everything in and went home and took a shower. And I'll say, dude, when you take a shower after an experience like that, you're exhausted. You got, I think, that second night I slept for 5 or 6 hours because I was just so tired. But yeah, you got 7 hours of sleep Friday night and Saturday night between the two of them. And you haven't showered in over 48 hours and your body is just moist, every inch of it, the entire time. Dude, that shower was crazy. It hit like no other shower has ever hit before. And I was so stinky. I was like, man, I probably honestly need 2 or 3 showers just to get back to a baseline clean, because you go the first time, you're not gonna get everything. You're covered in mosquito bites and bug spray and choking on the DEET. You know what I mean? It's a tough situation, but it was a lot of fun, and I wouldn't give it up for anything. So that was my week, and really the weekend was just the craziest part. Was the camping trip. There were so many shenanigans that we got into, but it was just the wild turn of catching the fish. And we go and we end up catching the crabs, and just the spoils of the land were seemingly endless,
That sounds like one of the most eventful weekends I've heard from you. Maybe aside from your firstborn, you know? And that just excites me, man. You getting out there, hot, humid, and swampy? There are very few things better than a Christopher Brett Walters who is hot, humid, and swampy, I'll tell you that much. That's his natural state. He is one with nature in those moments.
Right. That's right. Well, that's why, I mean, like you said, it's my natural state to be hot, humid, and swampy. But look, that's why they made jorts, right? Jorts are just the greatest. They afford you breathability. They're stylish. And they're perfect for a guy like me that's always hot, humid, and swampy.
I feel you yearning for times such as these. You have a natural draw to the swamp. That's what I hear, and that's what I've learned about you is you want to be with the critters. And I think that's just beautiful, is you getting to be out there in that campground in an Eno, in a sack of meat, as you referred to. I celebrate that with you. You shared a photograph with me and my family, and to be frank with you, you're part of that family. You shared a photograph with your family. And it looked like a great time. It really did. Lots of energy, lots of meat, crab is meat as well. Eggs, I hear. It depends on if you believe the chicken came before the egg, as to whether it's not meat or not.
Yeah, I don't know what egg is, to be honest.
I believe it's dairy. That's what they say.
Like milk.
Precisely. But could a cow's milk also be meat?
It's got protein, right? I mean, what is meat, really?
And this is the question that begs the question. I didn't have a question. What is meat? That's the question. Is poultry meat, would you say? Or is poultry poultry?
Poultry's meat.
Poultry.
Poultry is meat,
and
for
so
sure.
if egg is poultry,
I wouldn't consider egg
meat?
Poultry. I think
egg must be dairy.
I think you're right with dairy.
So then, does that mean the egg came before the chicken?
That's tough, dude, because if you think about it, the egg is just a baby chicken, right? In the early stages. It's not the milk. I don't think chickens give milk that I know of. So maybe it's not dairy, dude. Maybe it's meat.
Right.
Because I'm a chicken before the egg kind of guy. Yeah. You convinced me, or maybe I've convinced myself. Egg is meat.
Egg is meat. You've heard it here first. And if it depends on when you believe life is life as well. Do you believe that egg is a chicken?
I do, personally. And I think I think I see a new merch line coming out. Egg is meat is all it needs to say, dude.
Egg is meat. Start it now, Rodrigo. We'll get that into production. So when you're listening to this podcast, you'll be able to order it.
That's right.
Egg is meat, dropping locally near you on Amazon.com. And so that's going to be exciting, man. Well, do you want to hear about my 7 days, or would you rather just end it?
Well, I didn't really ask you, so probably best if we just end it. Kidding,
well, my
dude.
friends,
Kidding. Tell me about your week, dude.
Monday I played pickleball. All right, I'm gonna go quick. Monday I played pickleball with Dylan Bossy, a great guy, one of the most phenomenal guys. Hunter Hitchcock and Carson Switzer. Now, of course, these people do not know I'm referencing them because they do not know I have a podcast. And so if they have a problem with that, then I'm sorry. But I love them so much, period. Tuesday rolls around. Tuesday, we close our time in Malachi together at our life group. Malachi 4. It's a great book, great book. And so Malachi is actually it's the book before the New Testament chapter of Matthew. This is in the English Bible, right? The Hebrew Bible, I've learned today, actually is quite different in its chronologicality, or not chronologicality. It's more chronological, the Hebrew Bible versus the English Bible. And so that's that. Wednesday rolls around. Wednesday we had rehearsal. There were some balloons that just popped on my screen for those of you who are only listening. I'm not sure why balloons popped on my screen. I believe maybe I was hacked. I've had some hacking problems in my day.
By China.
I was hacked. Well, my Rocket League account was hacked by someone in the Middle East, and they changed my name to the Son of Muhammad.
They were balling out. You get your account back. You're like a plat 3. You're like, oh my gosh, these dudes are incredible.
Yeah. So the Son of Muhammad, they did what they wanted to my account, and I don't really know what happened, but I still play with it. So I'm getting somebody some points somewhere.
That's right.
And so Wednesday rolls around. We had a summer worship night rehearsal that evening, in which summer worship night we'll get to Sunday, so I will hold off on my explanation. Thursday rolls around. Thursday's a great night. I believe we played more pickleball. And it's just difficult to beat that time together. Out on the courts, just celebrating life, getting some physical exercise, etc., etc. And Thursday, I gathered with some fellow coworkers and students, and we broke bread together at Gator BTW. That was great as well. And Friday rolls around. Friday's fascinating. Friday 6 a.m. rolls around, and I shoot off north like a rocket in my Toyota Corolla to Raleigh, North Carolina. And I spend the weekend in Raleigh, North Carolina, and it's to celebrate the marriage of one Weston and Lauren Moore. And let me tell you something about Weston and Lauren Moore, if you'll allow me.
I'll allow.
Very good. Weston and Lauren Moore are two of the most rich in spirit people I know. And what I mean by that is their spirits are rich. It's just, whenever you hear holy matrimony, you think marriage that is influenced and persuaded and moved by the Holy Spirit. And that's how I would describe it. Those two are so sold out for Christ Jesus. I'm encouraged and I'm challenged to be as joyful as them. And I'm not just talking about as they got married. They were extremely filled with joy as they got married, of course, joy and happiness. But throughout their time, as I've known them, just consistency, in their joy, consistency in their perspective. And I think we can learn a lot from them. You know, I teared up. Well, I'm skipping ahead. So Friday's not the matrimony day. Friday is a day where I travel to North Carolina, and I got to figure out something to do at night. You know, I check into the hotel, and I think, what is there to do? Well, there's a baseball game going on, and I decided not to go to that because I just did not want to at that time. And so I decided to go to a place called North Hills. It's in Raleigh. It is one of the great places I've been to in the United States of America. Not scenery-wise, but just in elegance and well-designed-wise. And so North Hills is, think of it as a subdivision / more like a suburb of Raleigh. They have shopping. It's like a big neighborhood community. It's quite fun to be a part of, I'll tell you that much. So I go to the North Hills Shopping Center, and I do just a little bit of walking around. I mean, I've been driving all day. So I walk around, do a few laps around there, and then I go to a place called Bar Taco. Not to be confused with Taco Bar. Bar Taco. And what do I get at Bar Taco? I get a bowl of chicken. And it is this Japanese-inspired chicken. I forget its name, but I'll tell you this much. It was pretty dadgum good.
Was it like a teriyaki or?
It was a teriyaki. It was in the teriyaki family. It wasn't quite teriyaki.
Maybe like a second cousin.
Yeah. Once removed. And I would go again. I believe I messaged you and said, we've got to go here. And so I would recommend. Then I go to Restoration Hardware after that. I walk in, I meet this wonderful woman, and I share with her my plans. I shared that I have no plans. And I asked her, if you were in Raleigh for 20 hours, what would you do? And she said she would go on a hike. And I was already on the hike team. And one of the beautiful things about Raleigh is it is so pedestrian friendly. Unlike Gainesville does not care about its pedestrians. Raleigh promotes the use of legs. I'll put it that way. Or forearms if you're in a wheelchair. I want to be as inclusive as possible.
Of course.
The point is Raleigh, their infrastructure promotes activity. Let's put it another way. And so, lots of hikers, lots of food, many suggested breweries. And so, I took this wonderful woman's advice, and I went on some hikes, but that was the next day. I wanted to share what I did after that. So, that's about 6:45 p.m. I go to the North Hills Park. You know what's at the North Hills Park?
I'm guessing pickleball.
Pickleball, yes. And something that's beautiful is that you show up, you don't know anybody. I mean, I certainly didn't. And you just start to play. You really do. And so I played with Mike, I played with Manny, I played with Matt. I had a lot of M names to play with. And then Rob, Simon, and Kelsey were the others. And it was just a great time. I mean, you know, I've always said I would love to go to a place where I didn't know anybody and be a complete stranger. And
got that opportunity.
I don't know if I actually... Yeah. I don't know if I would actually live that out, but I did. And it was an opportunity. And it takes some serious courage. I mean, meeting new friends in a place you don't know anybody, no connections, it can be a frightening thing. And so you think about all these people moving to Sarasota, for example, for work for the first time, knows nobody. You think about people moving to school for the first time, doesn't know anybody. That's very rare, I'll say that. It's very rare that you don't know anybody when you go to college. You usually have a connection to the place you're going. But I'm saying it does happen. And with the interconnectivity of the web now, it's increasingly more rare, which I think is a great benefit of the web. But there is something beautiful about being out of your comfort zone, going out there, complete stranger. You can really lie your face off if you wanted to. I did not. I mean, I tried telling the truth. And so it's a fun little adventure there. It really is. So that was Friday. Friday night, I went to a place that was called Good. It's some custard place. Good berries. That's what it is. And I got some custard. There's no doubt about it. I got vanilla custard with Butterfinger. And it was quite delicious. There's no doubt about that either. So Saturday rolls around. I wake up from my slumber. I delight in the hotel breakfast. One thing about hotel breakfast is it's never going to disappoint. It doesn't really matter the hotel, you know. I mean, obviously some hotels like the Embassy Suites is going to be better than the Motel 6. But at the end of the day, if you just need a waffle, they're going to have a waffle. One of the good things I stayed at the Home 2 Suites by Hilton, and they always have a nice omelet. They really do. Embassy Suites, of course, makes an omelet to order right in front of you, which respect. Home 2 Suites, they pre-make the omelet. They have it ready. So that's good, man. No doubt about it. And then I went to Shelley Park. Shelley Park is a 2-mile loop around a lake. That's gorgeous. It really is. Then, after Shelley Park, I go back to North Hills. I stop at Jubila Coffee. I get a vanilla iced latte. I sit outside in the beautiful North Carolina heat. I get a little tan. I really do, because a wedding's coming up today, and I have to get dark. And then I venture toward North Carolina's Museum of Art. It's outdoors, about a 1.5 mile loop, where they have, it's basically an outdoor museum. They build these structures. And you know what was at the outdoor museum? It was a community garden. There was a community garden at the outdoor museum, and there was no one out there. There's no community at the garden. I'll tell you that much. But at the end of the day, that garden was flourishing. And it's just a beautiful testament to when you promote the exercise of movement of people in your city, when you are actively promoting it, your community garden is going to flourish. It really will. And Raleigh is just one example of that beauty.
Did you at least like pull some weeds so you could leave your mark? Say, look, I'm part of the community. I played pickleball. I got a latte. Okay, I am the community. I picked weeds for your garden. That's honestly a missed opportunity. I wish I would have consulted with you. You're very thoughtful in that way. I'll have to drive back to Raleigh to do that. But that's a good idea. So from the North Carolina Museum of Art, I drive toward NC State campus. One of the things about Raleigh, they call it the triangle. You have Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill. All right, Raleigh is host to NC State.
Durham is host to Duke University. Chapel Hill, of course, is host to North Carolina University. And finally, Wake Forest is in there somewhere. 4 universities all within a tiny little stretch of one another, probably about an hour radius. Well, NC State is in the heart of Raleigh. So I'm already there. I drive to it. What I'm picking up from NC State in North Carolina is very much like the relationship between University of Florida and Florida State University. Is UF is, for lack of a better word, smarter / nerdier. Some might say more focused on academics. That might be the better way to say it. Same as North Carolina is the more focused on academics school, if we're looking at the lives of students, versus your NC State and your Florida State. Those people are there for less focus on academics, more focus on extracurriculars.
They're here for a good time.
If you'll allow me to put it that way.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying one's better than the other. I'm saying that you choose what your desires are. And so there's just something to be said. But again, I'm not here to tell you the more focused one is the better on academics versus party / extracurricular, I believe I referred to it as. But you end up where you end up, and you got to be intentional where you end up. That's the point. And that's kind of what I picked up from my time in Raleigh. One of the bad things about NC State's campus is there's no free parking. And so I wanted to go tour that campus a little bit, walk around, have a little fun. Of course, not the extracurricular fun that we were just referring to. I meant the exercise fun, walking around, exploring something new.
Of course.
Yet there was no parking anywhere for free. I could always pay to park, but that's actually and literally highway robbery. Paying to park places is ridiculous. I'll get it. You've built a parking lot that probably you have not built personally. Your company has not built. First off, the school is funded by the government. It's a public university. How is the public university now going to charge me to park for something that I'm already paying for with my tax dollars? Now, I'm not a libertarian, but I do believe that I've already paid for this parking.
Look, dude, if they don't get you to pay for it twice, then it wouldn't be the government. They wouldn't be doing their job, right? And look, if you live there and you've got to park on campus, more than once in your lifetime, you're going to be paying for that parking lot over the course of your life, dude. You're going to probably single-handedly cover the cost of that parking lot. And that's just one person. Think about all the people. That's the dang government, dude. They've got their sticky little fingers in every little corner of your bank account and every little corner of your life.
Every nook and cranny.
Every nook and cranny. They've got their sticky little fingers. But that's just the way that it is,
And that's a good word. That is a good word. We have to submit and live under submission to the government. I mean, we literally live in the country that the government runs. And it's a hard concept to grasp when we desire freedom of spending. And when it comes to that, you have options, right? Your options are one, submission, of course, humble submission, because to be quite frank, government is an ordained item from God. And the ordainment of government of God is not just the United States of America government. It's whatever country you live in, that government is ordained by God. Now, where you must go against the government is when the government starts to be out of line with the scriptures. And you just have to be biblically fluent and use the Holy Spirit and discernment to really figure that out for yourself. But so my point being, the government asking us to pay for parking, I don't believe is against anything in Scripture. It's just a strong inconvenience, and it's, as a man with little money and who's gone into debt over this podcast, relatively speaking, of course, if we are looking at the profits and losses of the company, quite frankly, or the sub company of, quite frankly, I'm getting emotional because I don't like talking about debt, but we just have to submit. That's just one of the things we have to do. And so that's okay. It really is. All of which to say, I did not tour NC State's campus. I returned to the hotel, and I prepare for the wedding of the century, well, of the year. And so, Brett, let me share with you something. This wedding was one of the nice weddings I've been to. And you hear that all the time about your wedding, for those of you who attended. And it was up there with your wedding, I'll tell you. It was very nice. Very, very nice. Very similar vibe. They got married in a church, and then they did their reception at a country club. And it was a country club that was similar to the Golden Ocala. The DJ at the reception, we danced. You know what was fun that I've never seen is we danced the night away, literally. I danced for 2 hours straight.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't know a single soul there, except, of course, Lauren and Weston. And I had met Weston's parents once. You know who else was on the dance floor?
Tell me.
There were probably 30 people over the age of 65 on the dance floor. And these aren't slow dances. These are fast-paced dances. And there were, I'd say, 100 people on the dance floor total. It was a large wedding. And people have been to weddings. Most people don't dance. They really don't.
That's me. I've got big boomer energy when it comes to weddings. Look, you kids go dance, have fun. I'm going to sit back, get a couple drinks, a couple ginger ales, and maybe eat some hors d'oeuvres, things like that. But I'm no good at dancing. The music, it moves me, but it moves me ugly, So I would much rather sit back, say, man, look at those kids. They're having the time of their lives. I am eating hors d'oeuvres, and I'm having a great time as well. So
yeah,
I think, different people have different kind of niches at weddings.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is the Generation X's and the baby boomers were dancing. Every age and stage of life was dancing, and they were moving their hips. And the DJ looked exactly like Adam Langston with darker hair. And if you know anything about what Adam Langston looks like, you would now know that this DJ is a handsome, handsome man. And so they also had a live band, but they played tracks with the live band. So like the actual vocals and the synths were a track, but they had live drums, they had electric guitar, they had a saxophone.
Dang.
It was really incredible.
That's cool.
And they all shredded. Absolutely killed it. And so I was dancing with Lauren's mother at one point. And this was at the end of the night. I'm telling you, this was a crazy night. This is at the end of the night. And Adam Langston's doppelganger Now, keep in mind, we've been talking about how good God is the whole time, how awesome He is, the work He's doing in the lives of the people in this room. And Adam Langston's doppelganger says, all right, everybody's silent, everybody's silent. Now make some noise if you want to hear one more GD song. And Lauren's mother's mouth is now agape. She says, did he just say that? And keep in mind, Lauren's mother paid for this. That's just how it is. I mean, it was just a funny moment. It was quite hysterical because everybody was like, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
I thought you were going to say, he was going to say, let's have a big round of applause for the mother and father of the bride. Have you and her mom standing right there. That would have killed, dude.
No.
That would have been so funny.
No. But it was just an absolutely stunning wedding. Weston and Lauren are two stunning people. I'll tell you that much. And I believe the first week of this podcast, or maybe the second week, was I mentioned them. We had played golf at the Bostic course together. And they're just a hoot. They really are. And it was so good to see them because I hadn't seen them in quite a few months. So that was Saturday. So that takes me into the night, late into the night. Sunday rolls around. Sunday, I drive back. I get up around 5 because I got to be back at 3. This takes me back to the summer worship night. So summer worship night, we had a rehearsal on Wednesday. Well, the summer worship night is at 5 on Sunday. I needed to be there at 3:30. But the summer worship night is it's a final concert night for Brother Rob Flint, who is our worship pastor, who is retiring. And so I got to be a part of the orchestra/band there with the acoustic guitar. I needed to be back at 3:30 that day. So I wake up. I time it pretty beautifully. 6 a.m. on the dot. I'm in the breakfast line at the Home 2 Suites. I've already turned in my key. I've already put all my stuff into my car. I'm in the breakfast line. I grab my breakfast, head right on out. I get into Gainesville at 3 p.m. The call time is 3:30. I mean, it couldn't be more perfect. And it was just a great night. It really was. We had ice cream and cake afterward. And then there was another college event where there was hamburgers and hot dogs. There's a lot going on, Brett. There's no doubt about it.
Sounds
and
like it.
It's a lot of glorifying God. That's how I would put it. And so are we going to glorify God or are we not? That's a question we must ask. Ultimately, God's going to glorify himself, but are we going to be a part of the work that he's doing, or are we going to be in the way? Are we going to be a stumbling block for someone else? We got to ask ourselves. And that was my week. I said I would be quick, and I wasn't. And I'm not really sorry about it, but you could have cut this off at any point.
Well, I didn't want to cut you off. Weddings are fun, and I was intrigued to see how you live life by yourself. I've never really been to a place where I don't know anybody, kind of like where you went to the pickleball courts and you had, time to walk around and explore. I thought when you asked the lady in the coffee shop or maybe the restaurant, when you said, "Hey, what is there to do around here?" She said, "Hiking." I thought you were going to say, "Oh, so I, invited her to come hike with me," but that did not happen. So
I think that'd be a little too forward for my taste. That's just not how I roll naturally. But maybe one day I'll return to that Restoration Hardware and share with her, I went on the hike that you suggested. And I don't remember much about it. Maybe we should go together.
Well, it sounds like, an incredibly eventful week. Like I was saying before, I've never been in a situation where you just go somewhere and have nothing to do and don't know anybody and have never been to that place before. So it's pretty interesting. I'll say you're probably not going to get many more opportunities like that, but it sounds like you made the most of it. So
That's what I'm saying. Is it's rare that kind of stuff happens, because with the interconnectivity of people, if you are well networked, if you just know, I mean, you just never know what might happen. And I'll tell you, it's easier to meet people who no one knows anybody, right? Or if a few people know some people, versus a wedding where you got family already, people know everybody already. It's harder to insert yourself, because I'm not the kind of guy, and I really never desire to be the kind of guy who inserts myself into somewhere.
right. No, yeah. Yeah, you don't want to be that guy.
But it's still beautiful. It challenges you, and it grows you. And that's what's exciting, is, to me, I was talking myself out of going to pickleball for about 2 hours because sometimes it's frightening, and you might think I'm a little baby for saying that, but I just wanted to be transparent with you listeners, and I did it, and it was one of the more rewarding things I've done. And then you get to see at a wedding the beauty of the matrimony with two people you love dearly. Really a great weekend, if you ask me.
That's gorgeous. It really is. It's beautiful.
It really is. Well, what kind of songs have you been listening to, man? Maybe just one, though.
Just one. This whole camping trip, I feel like it kind of reawakened my my traditional country music roots a little bit, a little bluegrass. We were listening to all sorts of stuff. Some guys, they like to listen to what they call bro country. That's not really something that I'm interested in, listening to. So we were listening to a lot of the classics, little Joe Diffie, some George Strait, Alan Jackson, things of the sort. But we did come across the Steel Drivers, obviously not for the first time, but the song Ghosts of Mississippi by the Steel Drivers is going to be my song of the week, because it's really good. There's, a lot of kind of bluegrass vibes to it. It's got Chris Stapleton on the vocals. It's really, really tough to beat. How about you?
That's exciting. I'm going to go Everything's in Your Hands by Mission House, and I double-checked. I put a Mission House song in there before, but it's not the same album.
Clutch.
Hey, well, any other thoughts for our listeners before we exit?
I don't think so. Go buy the Egg is Meat merch. We're going to have that up here in a couple hours. And subscribe. If you're not already subscribed, I think here in the next couple weeks, we're going to have some fun content coming up for the subscriber only. Football season's kicking off, and I think I'm going to make a trip up to Gainesville here in a couple weeks to see the Gators take on the Hurricanes. So that'll be interesting. There's going to be some golf involved, as well as lots of other shenanigans. So we'll see what we can get on video, and what they'll allow. But it's going to be a good one.
It really is. And just so you know, you need to lock this price in at $2.99 a month. You can subscribe, and you do that at flobo.com, FLEAUBO.com. Please do so. Let us know what you think of the show. Rate us, mark us up for a review. Tell us what you want us to improve, what you want to do, what you want us to do for you. We are two men committed to you because we love you deeply and generously, and we will see you in 7 days.